WatchCharts is the world's leading secondary watch market research platform. Dive into the data yourself at WatchCharts.com. Sometimes you just want an honest to goodness beautiful watch that works without fuss and looks beautiful and elegant doing it. Cartier watches fit that bill very well, and in this video we'll look at why, in our opinion, the Cartier Santos is the most versatile watch for $5,000. We're looking at current regular production models, so we're not going to be looking at anything from CPCP or even anything coming out of the custom order department. So we're parking those just to a side just because they're a different beast altogether. And as always, we welcome you to check out these watches and the rest of the data for yourself at WatchCharts.com. We'll start off with just looking at a quick overview of the current catalog within the Santos family. So the main watch in this family is the Santos de Cartier, which is available in the medium size and a large size. The medium is available in steel, on a bracelet with an accompanying strap, in two-tone with an accompanying strap, or in rose gold with either an accompanying strap as shown here or with a bracelet, which is a separate reference. The medium-sized watches are all no date. They're 35 millimeters across, and from a functionality for the bracelet and the case design and everything standpoint, the feature set is identical to the larger size. Value retention here worsens with higher prices and the move from steel to precious metal. So basically, as we go from steel to two-tone to precious metal, prices are rising, but value retention is also worsening. But also for regular production stuff in that regard, like Cartier is no different from other mid-level brands. And the Santos is no different from, any of its competitors. And we'll talk about some with one caveat a little bit later in the video. The idea is that these watches are readily available around the world. Even if there is a certain amount of hype around them, Cartier makes enough relative to the demand that it has that you don't necessarily find waiting lists for all of these standard models. And I think that also goes some way towards explaining why the value retention is as, sort of a drastic reduction compared to a brand like Rolex, but certainly not compared to a brand like, for example, Omega. It's helpful to remember that Cartier makes more watches than Omega. It makes more watches than IWC, than Breitling, than certainly Bulgari, even Tag Heuer, and but not as many as Rolex. But given how sort of extended their catalog is, and then how many pieces they make of each of these, it's not a surprise that value retention is what it is in this case. But if you move up to the large size for the Santos, what you actually are able to get is far more variance. There are PVD options that are not available in the medium size, and now the movement is updated to include a date window, and the watches measure about 40 millimeters across. But here again, as we move from steel to some of the more exotic material choices to then eventually to two-tone, you see the trend sort of seems to hold for about 20% value retention loss, and then with the two-tone it sort of jumps up again. But these trend for the base steel models anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 in that approximate range, whereas the two-tone model is sitting at around $8,600. In addition to the Santos de Cartier, the large and the medium, which we just talked about, the other member of the Santos family is, of course, the Santos-Dumont. It's a sort of more classic, less masculine, less modern take on the Santos-Dumont design. Obviously, this is one of the earliest wristwatch designs to have ever existed, and it's over 100 years old at this point. And this is sort of harkening back to the original design as opposed to the Santos de Cartier, which sort of takes inspiration from some of those design elements and then turns it into something a little bit more modern. These are more, I would say, have a stronger sort of personality. And so you have to be okay with this particular distinctive look that they have to be okay with wearing them. In the smaller sizes, these are actually quartz powered, whereas in the larger sizes, they have hand-wound mechanical movements. And again, what we see is, other than the very large piece in two-tone, the value retention, there's a loss of about 20% over retail prices. So that should give you a quick idea of what all is available in the market within this model family that's current regular production. But we also wanted to quickly talk about some of the features that make this watch as versatile as it is. And the first element that we want to talk about in that regard is the easily changing bracelets and straps. So the watch comes with a bracelet if you buy one of the ones on a bracelet with an additional strap that, depending on the version you buy, could be a leather strap or a rubber strap. And it's just a simple question of flicking a little switch on the back, holding it back, and then just sort of removing the bracelet and swapping it out for the strap. And the accompanying strap has the exact same mechanism that lets it click into place in a single motion. And the versatility that this brings in terms of switching between the bracelet and the strap, depending on condition, depending on your current preference for how you want to wear the watch, whether you want to swap out straps to match it with your outfit, or any of the other sort of aesthetic considerations, which I think are front and center of mind for people who would be inclined to buy a product like this in the first place. People who care about those sorts of details and getting them right, and sort of exuding a sense of elegance. This is, compared to, let's say, an Omega or a Rolex, that this is a feature that you really can't discount the value of, because of how easy it makes it for you to change up its look. But it goes a step further, and what it does is make even the process of changing the links in the bracelet, so reducing its length or increasing its length, super easy. What you see here on the screen are little buttons that sit on the inside of the bracelet, and all you need is a paper clip. You poke those little bits, and what happens is that you can just very easily pop out the pin that's sitting inside the link, pull it out. It doesn't pull all the way out. It sort of stays stuck inside the link itself, so you're not at danger of losing it. And then you do the same with one more link, and then you connect the rest of the bracelet back, and you've basically shortened the bracelet in under potentially 30 seconds. And the reason that this matters is because what it means is that more than one person in the same, let's say, household can enjoy wearing this watch. So if you want to own and enjoy wearing a watch with your partner, but you have differently sized wrists, then the ease with which the bracelet on this can be adjusted means that both of you would be able to get away with, owning and wearing this watch and sharing it, and being able to sort of experience it at its best in a way that is suited to your wrist. And that, I think, is not a feature that's necessarily easy to communicate in marketing materials, but in terms of a day-to-day wearability experience, I think this is simply unmatched for someone who is in that sort of a situation where you don't want to have to deal with a partner who's envious of you wearing a watch that they would rather have on their wrist. But of course, when we're talking about more than just one person, that means that preferences can vary. And so that means that this could be not just the only watch you own, but not even the only watch you're considering owning. And there's plenty of competition out there that sort of fits the same niche, up and down the price range a little bit from where the, let's say, standard steel model sits. So a little bit further down on the price ladder is the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra 150 meters in the 38 millimeter case. This retails for $5,900 on the secondary market. It's got a hefty discount, this particular variation, but the watch itself is quite nice. The bracelet is well finished. The case is amazingly well done for its price point. So is the dial and the dial furniture. It's got a date window, so comparing to the large, you get the same feature set in the watch, which is time and date. And then it's got a Meta certified coaxial chronometer, master chronometer movement. So from a mechanical standpoint, you're getting something very nice, but it's not quite as strong of a design statement as the Santos is. If you jump up past the Santos, there's two options, one from Grand Seiko and one from Rolex that we would offer as considerations, the SLGH 005, and then the 36 millimeter Datejust reference 126234 with the white Roman numeral dial, which sort of matches or corresponds to the Roman numeral dial on the Cartier. These retail for $9,100 and $8,700 respectively, but have wildly differing market values. and again, provide both mechanical interest as well as visual appeal. The Datejust 36 is arguably one of the most iconic watch designs of all time, and the Grand Seiko takes Grand Seiko's reputation for producing absolutely beautiful dials, and increasingly so very nice movements, and for the modern era, sort of turning that up to 11. And that's, of course, also reflected in the price. But on the secondary market, of course, if that's where you're thinking about getting one of these watches, then it's basically in line market price wise with the Cartier. And so for that reason also makes for a good comparison. If we look at the market performance of the same set of brands over the last year, what we find is that while Cartier has gone down by about 2%, Rolex has, of course, gone down quite a bit, and that's actually not even the entirety of the loss that they've suffered, because the market peaked more than a year ago, and they've been in decline since then. Omega is down almost 6%, so more than twice the loss of the Cartier index. And then lastly, Grand Seiko is down, almost 9% over the last year. So I think versatility sort of seems to extend to being able to weather market conditions, because over the last year, certainly Cartier seems to have weathered the downturn in the market much better than these other comparable brands have. So at current market prices, certainly it would appear that what you're getting in terms of value for money is a fairly stable trade-off. But let us know if you own a Santos and what your ownership experience has been like, and if some of the facts and sort of features about the watch that we pointed out are things that resonate with you, or if you'd be interested in buying one now that we've given you some information about it. Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.